Climate change. What comes to mind when we hear the words climate change? For some, they resonate with a constant stream of reports. Scientific papers with statistics, predictions, protests, and debates. About the planet and the future. Our future, or even that of our children. Yet for others, climate change is not an abstract debate, nor is it about numbers, and least about the future. For them, climate change is real, and it is now. High up in northern Kenya, close to the border with Ethiopia, lies the county of MARSABIT. It is situated in the Great Rift Valley, where the oldest human remains have been found. Today, MARSABIT is home to 13 indigenous tribes, including the Rendile, the Borana, and the Samburu. For centuries, these tribes have been living as nomadic pastoralists, like Lokote, Kor, and Lukule, who traveled the region with their cattle. But in recent decades, climate change has drastically affected their way of life. Prolonged drought has led to scarcity in resources, in turn leading to violent conflict among these tribes. However, members from all communities have decided to take action in response to these challenges. Young men from the region, like Lesi Makaro or Jeremy, have stood up as ambassadors for peaceful coexistence. Together with respected elders like Peter, and women defying the status quo, like Tapairan or Gaspat and her daughter Rose, they refuse to let conflict govern their fate. Gaspat is the mother of 9 children. She lives in a manyata, a settlement with traditional huts. Her daughter Rose has just completed her secondary education.
We are 9 in number, but 2 they didn't went to school because many people are interested in their livestock. So mom and dad, they decided not to take 2 of our children to school. So one was staying to look after goats and the other one to look after cattle.
Every Monday morning, Gaspat performs a special ritual, during which she ties a goat to the house and imbues it with milk. It is meant as a blessing to the gods to protect their livestock. To the tribes in northern Kenya, livestock is the centerpiece on which their survival depends. Once every 15 years, the community organizes a large celebration for all the teenage boys. After a circumcision ritual, they officially become Morans. For the next 15 years, they will have to travel and always make sure the cattle have enough grass to eat and water to drink. One of these young teenagers is Lokote. He has recently started his Moran life.
Karamat gitu, narta, nau to kata mitra shoni, semua kata, nau kuat ko iri mal to, nau nya kata, neria bag nari mingkata, gaju, na jo kata, na dungong kare bag kata, na peragin, mata bangkoma. Korda kata, na kuat to kata, korda na jo, kata, million gaju na jo, muguarusiam, na gua to pairi, na uru punul kena kata, na aril kukui. Eta aku korda bagi na tene, metu baca onggurin baca aku rucere bagi. Ya tu naral lucu. Mika tak pernah naral lucu. Tak mah tak pernah. Mika tak pernah naral tu sakata. Nak kejual coba kata. Mika tak pernah tu. Sekarang nak usah nak kata. Nah, mika tak pernah gitu. Gitu pernah kata mika angkum.
The life of a Moran has certainly never been one of ease and comfort. But as a generation of Morans is retiring, and the next one is preparing to take over, things are not about to get easier.
Kata kita muda yo golong golong kita kamu tangki sumpar golong nanya ita aku betang golong wangi cuma maral barta golong wangi kau tuh muda pi katu ata laritin aja tu ada uni
kibadilike na mara na paramata na ata ya pa kibadilike kata taramata tango pata ta mukri na pa amuki jeta ta yosyo mnata kumo nata asil to ana kumo amugora pa nyanga mata bagana yami yo amkira kunini bagopa yami yo mamanya ita unna tugana kona kala konko peneke manya ogwete idike manya nata kupo asyo mgolo seral parura mitoka pana tia na kopna tugana town kunni tugana oti
katara kiril tugana mata ta labe itaril tugana unni katara kiril tugana bata tal barta katara kumbata tan keperna marti to te tondo do yerita marti katara keto ngat ari joguti yol ntomonok ke yow seriani woling amudol nanto kena yownya seriani maringena judan kara otono bongar ne mari marana mari.
Jeremy is one of the children of his family who was sent to school. He now works for the government in peace building.
I grew up in a pastoralist setup, in a simple manyata without basic necessities like even no sanitation facilities, no toilet, no school, no nothing. My family are people who move from point A to B looking for a pasture for the animals and water. The impact of climate change on conflict in this part of Kenya has been enormous. What causes conflict is drought. When grasses are depleted, people scramble for these grasses. They scramble for water. What will follow at the end of the day is conflict, a full-blown conflict. The drought in this part of Kenya has been directly linked as a result of the effect of climate change. Previously, like 10 years ago, the frequency of droughts in this county is not as it is right now. We used to have maybe a drought after 5, 6, 10 years. Nowadays, every single year, or after every 2 years, conflict here is a direct consequence of climate change.
The prolonged droughts caused major crises in these pastoralist communities. As animals weaken and die, food becomes scarce, creating widespread malnutrition. Growth disorders, low immune systems, and disease breakouts, such as cholera, hit hard. The population is left with little to subsist on. Kor and Lukule are the same age as Jeremy. But while Jeremy was in school, Kor and Lukule were living as Morans, traveling far and wide with cattle. In November 2019, MARSABIT experienced a particularly heavy rainy season, its first in a long time. The grasses grew and brought the Morans closer to home. Kor is now back in his village for the first time in 5 years.
Uwa kiri uwa na ko gol pi ngolo do na ke ji nya nanga do nung bogna baneja nor ndai wal tongana togna gol na ya so na be na tu na ke na ta ka bana na se na tu na ka bana e bire do yo na ngai
ndo da ba cha na ba nya taro ina kop ndo ga nanya semi nanya taro ina kop na ul mangan tanto nanya semi nu bunan na to ka kati mala ben udin na tono kolong bagala ro tingkang iti ro tingkang ro bir tena tangkang iti kora bagata na ba betiki mele bagata sama lagi kolong wala nya yuar yo de wala na ar ba sam gulna yo anto kene asa tai na katai e perreta anto ku yenno yet e perreta na muka e perreta nanka goto ka bicho do ge cho ndo yete bicho peda masai no po mara yo guairon park diner sui
Yol do ina de parragoi unko pitur ma unko piperia to kwa ire mbaga meike ndongan na go twake ne ka saga ke mbaga mugutu mana no ngo ne ke jung atwa basi neibung intokitin inonok kap nikintoki ayiaya paa ore pee kuna nintodua nyada kitong'or kitayu oltung'ani likiyaki itong'or siiyie ninye etaa naake etareteki naa nejia taa eikununye ekisagi mpaka mikitijing atua metaa mitumoki iyie atodua iltung'anak tenkop noodo mpaka nikilotu naake ajing atua nikimpung'oki.
Iyiolo inapart apa nikipuo mpaka sera olbarrua tenebaya sera olbarrua hai ketii enkurucho nagol pii kabisa mee naa ntoki nitikidol odua kutuk isiam ninturraki iltung'anak neeku naa isiam nimiwuotito neeku taa entoki nagol pii ina toki nikitodua naa ajo basi ore ena toki kirowua naa amaa tenaa ore paa kijokini inturrayie duo oltung'ani neinyiang'u naa nkishu ibikito taisere aitoki nintoki siyie adaaraki inakop aiturriki iltung'anak nikirapaa aitoki neiwuot mee naa niwuotoki.
Aaku taa mara enkae toki naiko nejia sina taake irriki iltung'anak oorro naa entoki nanyai nayieu.
Nikipuo ake aing'ua nikintoki siake aabik meebaiki nikiwuot aapuo ake nikijo naa mee nikintu aaro keishunye toki nikiwuot naa.
As rainy seasons are becoming less frequent, violent conflicts are only at risk of increasing. But the people of these communities refuse to let the harsh climate conditions determine their future, or to let chaos and conflict take the upper hand. Lesi Makaro is a respected leader of his community. He speaks of the same rough years as a Moran and is determined to make things change for the next generation.
Tata panga kangamata lapono to wana jumangati nukupoyo nikiria makuno ngoji nikiara tana bagata matata kana nungare nari keda taba tandanga mata paina koto kana bege aku tata pawanda dongan lesiria na tunga jara nano kijinga tana terichet minjo arai nito dua ta yepe junguni laramba eril dongani muguda yuneri nito ke pai wutu bata ajinga terichet.
Together with local members of the communities, the government and a consortium of NGOs, Jeremy and Lesi Makaro work on an initiative to foster peace in the region. They regularly organize so-called peace meetings.
What we did today is we called young men here to engage them on two issues: natural resource management and the issues of conflict or violence. We were training these young men to make sure that they conserve the pasture, so that it's going to be used during the dry period. If that one is done, the level of migration from one place to another reduces. If it reduces, it means the conflict will go down. So that is one thing we are trying to tell them. We are also trying to tell them the effect of climate change. So we are trying to inform them from the word go that we have something called climate change. These are the effects of climate change. This is what's supposed to be done to maybe mitigate it.
Peter is an elder. As peace chairman, he travels from village to village to speak to young Morans as well as elders.
In case any problem arises, they will solve it using their strength, their fist. They will use it. But elders, they will never agree that. Elders will say, no, don't use the spear, don't use the sword, don't use a stick to make a difference between you and your brother. Use dialogue.
A story is told in MARSABIT that happened sometimes back where communities were fighting. So representatives from both communities were in the grazing field, intensively fighting, and they were moving closer to each other. Probably people could have lost their life and their livestock. Then one member decided, as it was enough for fighting, he threw away his gun. He took a white piece of cloth, raised it up, and moved to the perceived enemy. So the enemy saw a member from the other community coming with a white piece of cloth raised up, and they were so surprised what is happening. So they decided not to kill him. This particular person went until he got the crowd that was fighting back and asked them, why are we fighting and we are brothers? They all came together and agreed that they need to live like brothers and they don't need to fight. They went back home that day and the fighting stopped.
But dialogue is difficult to achieve when all people can think about is the survival of their livestock. So along with the efforts made in fostering peace, the communities are also working to find viable alternative livelihoods.
Nas biashara tangkang, nas to soko. Magada tata sokui. Ni shara dana na dugutin ngada sa tatua ngkang. Amore shinga kata chibda. Ni tu buricho.
Kadal tanaka na jogo rembatari ko ran tomono kam ma ubunita dol nyana kam peso na shakal tungana na shako utiti kwi. Itu na dol nemeto na jinga tata na kati gilwaki. Kore na shake kerasta bidas iki asta alkasilang supatoliang yo na ke pira epita la kasipoke am yo ako shu yo kana ngama masang na ripi na yo ke na ripita ko ifina alkasi supat shole ke asgada ligda shabagni to len kiran to monok yo marata ka am ka jona ka am ka sta alkasila ile la saye na ke tungkiti na shakuno keri siltungana kora ko dwa ko pa ko na dwa ke ata ina dwa gam am ko woleng ko pang ko ro tungana lo mon lan kairiak no ro silo mon lo kujit na ko kya ko na ko lawanya ke nam ko ra ko pa ko eshomo ko tungana dagma da iti la rabal tanga batsa nu ponin tenya bata nu pari shana ko lori na ko na kera na dwa tungana wo shana ka tamba to poki ne utasi na busho meta ko re dwa batal parna na bata dwa ke mari da na dwa ke lekera lazima na ko pa baya bodo na ko pa ka mun siriani na sta to nu wangul na ngol na parna po yusom dia bata sambur kenyo to na ko tungana le bodo nu po na ke ne bata nu po ka liko siriani ne jugu na ke kera tungana chona ke yuma tam ko jitam sina na ke timuro yu
ma kata imani dara maite atua almare poki kata altiriti supat la rukore te serian taramat poki tago to soga ngai asandi mara sipoki ngai kata ke poki ngai na badage na mata kata ke poki ngai na badage na guliare na ngure ni na wari atal gulanje ke bunguna ka bagninya mata ke itu nya siredi
kai barja bangnan ninja na je ka mana me yutu da sinta ina ngi para mara lazima na sibi komparo na yu da na ama ta tinuna na banana na ko yongkolong itu tinuna sin ko tinuna ko yongkolong itu dua tinuna sin shida yang kopang ka de di minja na ay ko na yu
nol da baga ke yini peritilika yengai do no banyin na sa kuku no bote ringin ori da yet ne asana no nya sangai baga ni nya kai gi ga na sto bagni ne dininje